Should be going live in just a moment. And we are live on Facebook.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
You sure we're not Memorex?
Oh man.
John, you're dating yourself.
Hey now.
You ready, Jen?
I don't know if I'm ready for this group.
Easy, Foster. Easy.
Welcome everybody to 1 Million Cups. We're thrilled to have you join us here live on Facebook. We meet every Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock with some coffee and great community. So this is part of the Kauffman Foundation, which is a national organization. I encourage you to go check it out if you have not heard about them. They are a huge fan of entrepreneurship and drive a lot of opportunity, just like 1 Million Cups. If you have a moment, please check in on the 1 Million Cups mobile app. If you do not have that handy, you can also check in on 1millioncups.com/Facebook. And you can just make sure that they know we have such a great attendance because that does allow us to get coffee mugs for our presenters and all that kind of fun stuff. This is your organizing team. It is all volunteer. We are not paid to do this. We do this because we all believe in entrepreneurs. And we also have an amazing group of brand ambassadors, many of whom are on the phone call today. If you'd like to be an organizer or brand ambassador, please reach out and let us know. As I said, the Kauffman Foundation has over 160 1 Million Cups groups that meet all over the country. So they do have a national and local mission. So thank you for joining us here in Fairfax. There are pillars to our community. One is that when we have weekly discussions, they're really a presentation. They're not a pitch. We're not looking for funding or investors. This is about authentic connections, not just networking. And we do, as I said, run the group, but it's run by the community for the community. And our goal is to be radically inclusive. And so we love having entrepreneurs of all different sizes and shapes join us. We do have coffee sponsors. So I'm going to kick us off with Office Evolution. I don't think, John, you could join us this morning. Office Evolution is located in Tysons. It's a fantastic collaboration and co-working space. You can see some great photos of their offices there. John Yu is also an organizer. So if you're interested, do check out Office Evolution in Tysons. And our other coffee sponsor today is Ken Portnoy. Ken, please tell us about you.
Well, first I want to chastise everybody who didn't get coffee at our live meeting when I brought coffee. That was my job. And if you weren't there, you missed out. My company name is The Profit Planner. I work with business owners to establish and grow and sustain profitability. Profitability is critical to the growth and success of every small business.
Well, thank you, Ken. Thank you for being a part of our community. And I'll take you out to coffee to make up for that. But we appreciate you being our sponsor. You can be a coffee sponsor as well. It is for the entire month. You get 2 minutes to talk about yourself. So let us know if that's something you're interested in. How our virtual meetings work. Again, you can use the hand icon to wave and let us know when you have a question. But every week we kick off our meeting with a little bit about 1 Million Cups. We have a presenter, a business owner, share a challenge or a question they need help with for about 8 minutes. And then we as a community ask clarifying questions, chime in with ideas, hopefully make connections for them as well, whatever resources they need for their support. And we also have guest speakers like today with Ken Portnoy. So the same rules will apply. He'll share and present, but he'll also probably ask us hard questions. And so we'll be able to raise our hand, jump in. Remember, this is live on Facebook. So let's keep our microphones mute unless you need to ask a question. You can also drop questions in chat. And as moderators, we'll be watching and make sure we tee that up to Ken.
Okay.
So just as a, if we go back a slide.
Oops, sorry.
Normally, just best practices, we would introduce our guests. I think if we do have maybe a couple of new people, that are here that we'd love to hear from. And maybe you've been here before and I just haven't memorized your name, in which case, my apologies. But I think Aaron looks like a new name, at least to me. So Aaron, if you'd like to unmute and introduce yourself, you're welcome to. For all of our guests, we love all of you equally, so please don't feel left out. Please introduce yourself in chat and make sure we know how to reach out to you too. All right, so it looks like Aaron might be grabbing some coffee. So I think what we'll do is turn it over to Ken, who's been gracious enough to offer to demo Chat GPT and lead a discussion on AI. So better Ken than us. So have at it, Ken.
All right, let's see if we can get this show rolling. All right, you guys should be looking at the questions of the moment. Go ahead and raise your hand if you would. If you are merely curious about AI and don't have any experience yet with any of the stuff that's coming out, either DALL-E, the visual system, or the one we're going to demo today, chatbot, Chat GPT. Raise your hand if you're just AI curious.
I'm a little bit more of it.
Okay, so we have some people who are AI curious. We were talking a little bit earlier before we got underway that there are some people who are AI experienced. They've been playing with Chat GPT. So I know there are some people out there. Now, who among you is willing to put your hand up and say, this is all really complicated and new, and I'm a little afraid of this stuff and what it's going to do to me? And the reason that I asked that question, and then I'll let you raise your hands. The reason I asked that question is because there's been a whole lot of scaremongering going around, and we'll talk about that for a minute as I get underway here through this presentation. Who's afraid?
And
Well, that's good.
can we be all three curious, messing around with it, and totally afraid of it? I think we could be all three or two.
So I love big words. Yes, these categories are not orthogonal. You can be all three. So let's see if we can get this to go. There we go. So most of you guys know me in this guys. I'm the profit planner. I gave you the pitch, the 30-second elevator. I help small businesses grow profitability because it's really important for their sustainability and ultimately their contribution to the community. But I have an alter ego. You might not want to talk to the profit planner about AI, but this is my alter ego. I have a master's degree from GW, from the School of Government and Information Systems, and I had a special interest in artificial intelligence and expert systems. So I've been looking at this stuff for a while. That's why you might want to listen to me, other than the fact that I'm charming.
80 years.
So what is artificial intelligence? The machine's doing what people can do. Early on, back in the 90s, when I was deeply embedded in this sort of stuff, one of the big challenges was figuring out how to pack groceries at the grocery store. This was a machine trying to figure out how to do what was easy enough for a 14-year-old. And it was a big challenge. But now artificial intelligence is anything people can do, and anything people can do, artificial intelligence and robots combined can do better. Anything you can do, says the robot, I can do better. It's a quote from Annie Get Your Gun from 1946. I'm going to run through the three types of AI real quickly. And the reason is because if you read the popular media and you read about anything you know anything about, you know that the popular media is really lightweight and is not making distinctions that are clarifying and worthwhile. So I want to take a minute and give you guys some vocabulary that you can use to understand AI better And then you'll know more about AI than just about everybody else in the universe. So there's three types of AI. There's discriminative AI. This focuses on categorizing and differentiating data. Easy. One of the first really big wins for discriminative AI was putting the crackers near the cheese in the grocery store. Grocery stores collect this huge amount of data about everything everybody buys, and they noticed people who buy cheese often buy crackers, but not everybody who buys cheese buys crackers. So they said, duh, let's put the crackers by the cheese, and the sale of crackers went up remarkably, and everybody's happy. That required artificial intelligence to crunch the data. It's used for fraud detection. You like that. That's a good thing. You don't want fraudsters to be able to do things more easily. Artificial intelligence discriminates between what's a good credit card transaction and a fraudulent credit card transaction, and they catch a lot of bad guys. Radiology, great use of discriminative AI. They can discriminate between a tumor and a non-tumor piece of flesh. This is obviously in mammography. They've gotten it to the point where the AI is as good as or better than a radiologist in finding tumors early in mammography. Facial recognition. You got it on your phone. It knows who you are. It discriminates between you and not you. This one gets a little more problematic because the Chinese are using it to track down dissidents on the street with AI-based facial recognition. So we start getting to the potential of some morally dubious activities. Mortgage loan processing. It's a marvelous use of discriminative AI. You want to discriminate between the people you want to borrow money and the people you don't want to borrow money from you to buy a house. It turned out that the discriminative AI was discriminating because the data that it was based on historical data that was racially discriminating. And they propagated the racial discrimination into the system. This is a moral problem with AI, propagating historical problems into the future, like redlining in mortgage loan processing. Generative AI, this is the one everybody's been so excited about for the last 6 months or so, because it's a lot of fun. It's generating new original data from smushing together old data. Did anybody else see this? This was a picture generator, an artificial intelligence picture generator. You could do this with just cut and paste, but the AI picture manipulation really does a great job of putting the pieces together in a way. This is where the term deep fakes comes from. This is a deep fake of the king playing guitar in a purple suit culled from Prince. Now, picture this in video, right? Imagine King Charles playing Purple Rain at a concert and singing Purple Rain in his own voice. That's being done. And last week, on Friday, I believe it was, this guy named Trump put together a video of Anderson, the commentator Anderson, saying good things about him. That is where deep fakes are going. It has already entered the political realm as of last week at the national level. Thank you, Anderson Cooper. You're looking at middle-aged brain deterioration. Chatbots. We all know about chatbots. I thought it was a great picture, so I threw it in. The Turing test was developed in 1950, almost 75 years ago, by Alan Turing. He said, look, we're going to take two people in a computer. Person C is going to ask a question. Person B and computer A are going to answer the question. And if C, who asked, can't tell the difference between the computer and the person, the computer is intelligent. They set the test up on text, just like a chat bot, because they didn't want person C to hear person B's voice. That problem has been solved. We'll talk about that down the road, but it's the Turing test. People have been thinking about this stuff for a long time. So here are the three types of AI. The third type is generalized AI. We were lucky enough, if you were in the room, to hear Daniel Olsher talk about his generalized AI system. Nobody, or it was hard to understand what Daniel was talking about, but it was basically that generalized AI can do anything a person can do. And he was talking about how they'd implemented it into war game simulations and crushed the opposition. This is where anything you can do, I can do better, really hits the ground. Three types of AI. Depending on what context you're talking about, it's important to know where you are in the sphere. Anybody recognize this guy? I know we got a lot of old folks, right? Fiction creates the future. In the 60s, Captain Kirk was talking on a flip phone, and the next thing you know, a couple of decades later, we're living with them. Now, is there any relationship there? Absolutely. How about this one? Does anybody recognize that logo from the Terminator movie of 1984? That's the logo from the Skynet Corporation, a revolutionary artificial intelligence system. It's defense network computers hooked into everything, trusted to run everything, and they got smart and took over the world. This fiction from 1984, I would argue, is why everybody is panicking over artificial intelligence. They are panicking over the vision of the future created in the Terminator movie in 1984. Does fiction create the future? Maybe not. Maybe we will be able to tame this monster. Somebody was mentioning earlier that they were trying to research all they could and learn everything they wanted to know in order to be competent in understanding artificial intelligence. It is a rabbit trail. You can run down that rabbit trail behind the rabbit and you will be lost. It is crazy. Just in the last week, there have been three massive articles, the last 10 days, three massive articles in the Atlantic Monthly magazine about how AI is going to crush social media, about how counterfeit people are going to eliminate trust. What do they mean by counterfeit people? If you're chatting with somebody and you can't tell that they're a machine, you're going to begin not to trust any chat with anybody, even when they're your mother. And that's going to be the breakdown of civilization. These articles are written by really smart people who are taking these problems seriously. Jonathan Haidt is at NYU. Dan Dennett, I believe, is at Princeton. Ian Bogost, also a well-known name among intellectual elites. It turns out there's a war going on at college. They had already implemented software to identify plagiarism in student work. They have added AI indicators to those sensors so that professors could call out who's using AI. And it's turned into a massive moral morass, because students are using AI to help themselves in productive and creative ways, and they're not trying to scam their academics. But then there are students who are trying to scam their academics, and the brand new software that identifies which academic submissions have been generated by AI are coming up with false positives. So professors are now burdened with determining who's right, who's wrong, who's overusing this stuff, and who's not. This one, the next one, this is wild and crazy, right? The woman pictured is a, quote, influencer, unquote, on Snapchat. She has people who send her messages on Snapchat, and she was overwhelmed by the messages. And so she set up a system where a chat bot will generate responses to the inquiries from her followers and deliver those messages in her voice so that she can hold conversations completely artificially with her followers in a credible way. And those followers are paying $1 a minute to talk with her through her Snapchat voice synthesis system. And she had to cut it off. She has to kick people off after 60 minutes because they would stay there and talk to her forever, but they're not really talking to her. They're talking to a counterfeit her, right? So if you're not afraid, if you're not very afraid, you may not be paying close enough attention. And my goal with this presentation to this point was to grab your attention with the complexity of the problem and the problem. So this is where you go to get ChatGPT. It's the place. I did not put it into the chat. So I'm sorry, you'll have to copy it down. Did everybody get that? Does everybody know where that is? It's pretty easy to find with Google, the old guy. What is the difference between Google and ChatGPT? I was blown away when I did this test. I asked Google, what is the largest state? And it gave me its sort of typical Google response, which was Alaska is the largest state, and a bunch of links to Alaska and other large states in the United States. It is what it is. It is, in fact, what it was, because it ain't going to be this anymore. It's going to be this. I asked, what is the largest state in the US of ChatGPT? And it gave me this short text answer. And it said the largest US state by area is Alaska. But then it gave me this second, and I realize it may be hard to see in this format. It gave me this second sentence, which is, however, if we consider population, the biggest US state is California. It answered a question before I even asked it by exploiting the ambiguity in my question independently on its own. If that doesn't blow you away, it blew me away. So ChatGPT is this word is overused, but I'm going to use it. It's an existential threat to the traditional search engines, which is why Bing from Microsoft immediately implemented an artificial intelligence chat bot in Bing. Everybody gets their stuff from somewhere. This is Mark Firth. Mark Firth is a marketer who markets marketing. And he's a very successful social media marketer. He's been doing it for several years. He moved from New Zealand to the United States. If you're not familiar with him and you do social media marketing, you really ought to check him out because he's a lot of fun and he's got some great ideas to share. I've picked up a lot of what I know about ChatGPT from Mark Firth. He was first out of the box with training on how to use ChatGPT to accelerate the development of marketing materials. So that's the end of that piece of business. Let's get down to what I really promised you. I really promised you an opportunity to play with and talk about ChatGPT. So you should now be at the Welcome to ChatGPT login screen. And you out there in Zoom land are going to help me with this. I need a subject. Any subject, anything you want to know anything about. Now, you can't see it in this screen, but I actually had a conversation with ChatGPT this morning about the philosophy of existentialism, and comparing and contrasting existentialism with libertarianism. So if you guys are putting your,
So Ken, there's a question I threw in. What is the hardest challenge an entrepreneur faces? Or if you want a different version, what is the
Well-
hardest challenge about launching a business?
how about,
I've got one too.
That's a good one.
all right,
Marketing
just call them
changing
out.
AI, if that's all right.
Well, I'm sorry?
I just put in how is marketing changing with AI to see how AI would suggest it. Just as a topic.
Okay, now, ChatGPT has swallowed every bit of information about everything that it can find in the public network. And so the range is gigantic. So let's talk about too much stuff on my screen. Here we go. It's a 6-point dissertation on entrepreneurship. Right. Well, that's too big to use in a LinkedIn post. Now, I said that that was too long for LinkedIn posts. There are people who disagree. And actually, I believe that the LinkedIn algorithm disagrees. It is currently favoring long form posts.
Hey, Ken, here's an interesting question for you.
Okay.
Is there plagiarism in chat? Meaning that if Jen and I put the same three, let's just say I put Jen Dalton, just write, I want to write an essay on Jen Dalton. I put her name. Will her and I get the exact same description or whatever, does that happen?
So your question was about plagiarism.
Well, like what I'm
That's
saying
where
is
you
if I go to
started.
chat, go ahead, yeah.
Will you get the same output every time you put in the same input? No. Oftentimes, I have had ChatGPT ask me how good that was and whether I wanted him to take another swing at it. Plagiarism is a gigantic issue with this stuff because ChatGPT doesn't do footnotes. If you use the chat bot in the Bing search engine, the chat bot in the Bing search engine will give you footnotes. But otherwise, who knows where this text came from? Entrepreneurship fuels economic growth and innovation, right? Is that plagiarized from some high dollar academic? Who knows? I don't know. You can't know from this engine, but people aren't paying any attention to copyright when they are using and reusing these materials. Is this chat bot a permissible reuse of copyrighted information? Hasn't been litigated yet. It's a big question. It's a big deal, and people are worried about it. So here we've taken and we've gotten this long piece with 6 points. We've reduced it to 3. So how much faster could you do the things that you do in your work to generate materials for either marketing or training or any other aspect of your work by implementing this interface into the workflows. I think that it's imperative that every business leader of a big business or a small business, but leaders, right? They're supposed to be looking over the horizon. They're supposed to be looking over the horizon to see what's coming and anticipate and exploit what they know is going to be happening. And you know this is going to be happening. And it's either going to be for your detriment or your advantage. I'm going to pick on John Foster because I like picking on John Foster.
Go ahead, Ken.
If somebody asks you next time to write an article about being a vegan for publication in a local newspaper, John, what's the first thing you should do?
First thing I should do. I think you just did it.
Hey, Ken, we do have a question or a hand raised from Scott.
Please go ahead and speak up, Scott.
So this is something that I find really interesting, right? I mean, we're talking about veganism, but when you ask it questions about nutrition and questions about lifestyle, where there's a lot of conflicting opinions, I know it's a word in a lot of respects. It's using its source material to predict what word should come next. But I'm curious the kinds of things that will take place when asking about material that there are strongly competing opinions about.
So let's play Jeopardy. Give it to me in a question.
What is healthier, a keto diet or a vegan diet?
What was the first one?
What is
Keto.
healthier, a keto diet?
KETO.
K-E-T-O.
Gotcha.
And or a vegan diet and a plant-based diet, which is more to what John is working with, because a plant-based diet is different than a vegan diet.
Right.
So maybe
And
that.
just for kicks, can we include a carnivore diet?
Yeah. Why not?
Well,
How
right
about
now
the
we're
paleo? How about the
question
Mediterranean?
is,
Jesus. Okay, this is way over my head. Next.
wait,
Just wait, there's more.
Yeah.
wait. Of course it's too much because our attention spans have been reduced to mush. Right? So there's 3 points on a keto diet with potential benefits, potential drawbacks, a plant-based diet, right?
That's actually a really good one.
Considerations, individual health needs, and here's 5 is where I find it interesting, right? You will not be surprised to find these sorts of caveats coming out of ChatGPT because somewhere somebody told them you better cover your butt on liability, and it's built in.
So we have a question from
Okay,
John.
John has a
Hey,
question. He's
yeah.
hand raised.
Go ahead.
So first, Captain Kirk, please beam me up.
I am ready. Second, can you ask ChatGPT to make a decision relating to the options for my next diet that I don't go on? But seriously, what happens when you say, tell me which is better? One or the other?
Great.
What
So I'll tell
response
you
do you get?
first about one experience I had. There is going to be a total solar eclipse in April of 2024 that passes over Waco, Texas. And I said, can you give me the weather for Waco, Texas in 2024 in April? And ChatGPT said, no way. I can't do the future. So let's see if we can get a value judgment.
Right, a value judgment, which is better for your health? Which? Just choose two. Oh,
Keto and plant-based. Yeah.
do we get a drum roll?
You don't have time for drum roll.
Yeah. I was gonna
Popping
say.
out.
A well-balanced plant-based diet tends to align with long-term benefits and associated with reduced risk. Consult your healthcare professional.
Okay,
So that's the kind of liability avoidance that
okay, it's fair, it's fair.
So just a quick time check. We're
Thank you.
right at 9:37.
Yep.
okay.
And I don't know if you wanted to do other discussions or show other demos. This has been really interesting. I
It's
just wanted to-
phenomenal.
So what I find is that, and this is Chat GPT 3.5. I can switch it to Chat GPT 4, but I'm afraid. I don't know, but
Why?
why?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it can reach through the screen. No, that was overstated. I've been using 3.5. I tested on 3.5. I know what I can anticipate pretty well what 3.5 does. What we haven't seen here, the paid edition supposedly has a broader database and more sophisticated delivery.
And ask it why I should purchase the paid versus the free and see what it says.
Ken, this is really fabulous, by the way. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hopefully, by giving you the
Is it $20 a month?
yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
more reliable and efficient while contributing to the development.
Great things you can say about anything with a subscription.
Yeah,
Right.
Subscribing users support OpenAI's mission, priority access. And there you go. We took that text, got the 4 bullet points in a finger snap.
Right.
This stuff is just critical to understand.
Ask it to define AI technologies. I'd like to see how it does that. Just looking support AI, maybe mission and then as one, and then technologies as another.
Let me see.
So let
what we
me
got
just
here.
throw out a suggestion.
Sure.
We can ask questions on our own time.
Okay.
I would love
Yeah.
is for people to bring up, like, what are you facing as a business owner around this topic? For example,
Yeah. That's good.
if you're creating content, should you disclose it's Chat GPT generated? Because that does
Yeah.
start to create integrity issues in my mind as a personal brand strategist.
You read my mind, Jen.
So those are, I'd love to know what else are people thinking besides, creating Skynet. What else are people thinking how they might use AI for their business in a positive way? what are risks, where again, when you disclose it, things like that. So Ken, do you mind if we switch to that? Is that
No,
all
no,
right?
no. I just wanted to answer the first question, which was, it was the first question that I asked, which was provide me an outline of a 30-minute presentation on generative artificial intelligence and Chat GPT. I hope you're not insulted that I asked for it at the high school level, just as a starting point. I asked
Hey,
for
at
a
least I
little-
wasn't fourth grade level.
We have Carolyn and we have Reggie who have their hands up. So
I'm going to
Carolyn-
drop back, you guys. Jen, if you could continue to.
Melinda
do
will
what you
moderate
do.
us for right now, but thank you, Ken. That was awesome.
yeah,
And
it was.
kicking off a good discussion.
Yeah.
So first we have Carolyn and then we have Reggie.
So I just wanted to, can everybody hear me? Just a minute.
Yes.
Okay. So just thank you, Kim, for that. That was awesome and amazing. And I popped in an article there that I saw last night about Google, the Google exec saying it could be a weapon of war, and that politically the Senate, Congress, they're looking at it, they're trying to get ahead of it. But my question, well, not my question, what I use Chat GPT. I use it as an idea generator. I do not use it as pick it up from here and put it there and call it mine. Because I am, as Jen stated, I am concerned about, you know, the plagiarism aspect and the fact that this stuff may not be accurate. And as a researcher, I go back and I'm like, I use it as an idea. It's like, oh, these are things that I can now go search for scholarly, credible articles and information that will support what this thing is saying. So am I making my life a little bit harder? Maybe, but I want to make sure that my stuff is credible because my name means everything to me. And although Chat GPT is great for coming up with quick bullet points and being able to create an outline for you, yes, Ken, go Ken.
The Washington Post turned loose its journalism staff on Bing. And they found, because they're researchers, they took the footnotes that came out of Bing, they chased them down, and they found that a significant amount of the footnotes in Bing were irrelevant or erroneous.
Yep.
So your
Exactly.
concern, you know, they had like 20 researchers at the Washington Post doing exactly what you're saying is mandatory if what you really want is reliable information.
So next we have Reggie and then I've got a quick question.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Reggie.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. So I think that I mean, I'm looking at this article on LinkedIn, and it says the OpenAI CEO calls for regulation. This was yesterday in front of the Senate. So, you know, I think it's useful, much like Carolyn, for generating ideas, and I think being able to generate ideas more quickly than I can. It can be running in the background while I'm doing other things. So I think that there's definitely a benefit to it from that. I look at it as a place to begin, but never a place to end in terms of ideas. And you know, I'm all about original thought. So I think this is a great way to sort of curate information. And you know, the fact that it can do it more quickly and from more sources than I can is the main benefit of it. But I do think that it's good to have a healthy amount of concern. Like if the people that created it have concerns about how it will be used and are telling people to sort of pump the brakes on the enthusiasm for it. And I mean, I think the average everyday person would be wise to do that as well. So yeah.
There's a big thing going on in Europe. The European Union has a committee that's generating legislation to go before the European Union legislative body to implement limitations on the use of AI in Europe. They have been doing that study group for 3 years. And considering the nature of the American legislature, we'll see it in the next decade.
So I'm going to take the next question and then John, you're up. My question is, I've watched a lot of people like in garden clubs starting to use AI, putting in information and then putting out content, pictures and other things and really not touching it. And it kind of scares me because of what Jen was saying earlier about content, because I'm also a content creator and content for, selling materials and other types of things that companies do to promote their businesses. And as you look at that and you look at AI, and then you look at, I'm going to jump a little bit to college kids and reports, or even earlier when they're doing different types of reports that read a book and write something about it, they could put all this stuff in and never ever read the book, never have the knowledge or anything else there that is necessary. That's the kind of stuff that scares me a bit, because it's missing the human element and it's also missing the personal element, which is emotions and other types of things that I think may be differentiators down the road. And I agree with the strategy of use it to build and then put your own emphasis into it, personalize it, change the words, do whatever you have to do. But maybe you can comment on some of that, because there's been a lot of stuff talking about the education and how people can cheat on almost anything with AI.
Does anybody still have the ability to do 2 and 3 digit arithmetic in their head?
Me, I do.
Right. That skill is no longer spread through the population because of a technology implementation of calculators.
Right.
Right. Everybody bemoans the loss of cursive writing.
Mhm.
Right. Which is
No.
similarly a victim of technology. So my personal view is that we're going to lose a lot. Does the word Luddite mean anything to anybody? Right. So the Luddites were being displaced. They were weavers in England, and they were spinners and weavers of fabric, and they were going to be displaced by machines, and they ran amok, destroying the machines that were going to replace them. Hopefully the displacement that may result from changes, we're going to have white collar middle management people rioting in the streets, breaking up computers, because they're going to learn about how the Luddites took on the weaving machines.
Wow.
My turn.
Yeah, your turn, John. Go ahead.
Okay, so the plagiarism issue is easy, is very easy. Disclose or have, as what I was taught in my first job as a consultant, to have a second person tell you the same thing as the first person, and therefore confirm.
Dates.
Okay, confirm before you move to the next step. So ChatGPT will give you the 5 sources to check out to confirm what ChatGPT says. So what ChatGPT does is shortens the life cycle of your research, because I started in high school on 3x5 cards with OPSIT and IBIT on the back of the 3x5 card of whatever I was plagiarizing or handwriting down in pencil. Because then we had to number the 3x5 cards as we organized it. And now we have ChatGPT. So there are always going to be criminals, bad apple in every bushel, right? Okay. But going to Jen's point, okay, so you either disclose or you have a second confirmation. But to your question, can ChatGPT tell me 5,000 business people who meet a profile within a geographic area? Because that's a heck of a way to gather potential business contacts for you to meet.
That's a good one.
Because at $20 a month, guys, we're way ahead of the game. And then you really narrow it down to 200 or whatever.
So the query you're referring to, John, is a fairly standard sort of database query.
I do.
And they're ChatGTP is a language model. So ChatGTP is not in that space quite the same way. And so I don't think, but later today, when you got some spare time, log in, give it a try, report back.
Hey, Ken.
No doubt. I mean, that's where my mind goes as it
Yeah.
relates to it in general.
But hey, Ken,
Please.
around that, John's question is that one of the things it does do is it does write, it can write code, and I haven't played with, but I know there are also Excel aspects of this, and so really having the access to the data, asking for that in a natural language, you absolutely could do.
Give me the 3 best databases to look at for this kind of information.
Well, I think you'd still need access to them, John. I don't
Sure.
know what the breadth of access is, but
Sure.
and that's certainly going to be another challenge.
Awesome, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I just throw it out there. I mean, I think this is hugely important, and I think around the model of our meeting today. I mean, I think this kind of thing is critical because it's so important to be aware of, particularly from an entrepreneur standpoint.
We're at 9:53. Do we want to ask the chat what can 1 million cups do for us today? Do for it today? That would be
All those
kind of fun.
questions you're worried about the answers to. I think we probably need to flip back to our slides.
Yeah.
But it would be fun.
I'm sorry, I closed out the chat bot. We could ask it
That's okay.
the question. Give it the answer. I really want to thank you guys. The opportunity to put this together has allowed me to dive much more deeply than I would have otherwise into this subject matter. And I feel better equipped to move forward in trying to take advantage of these technologies in my business. I hope that I've spurred some interest so that you might be able to move forward in that direction yourselves.
Let's give Ken a round of applause. Thank you.
That was great, Ken.
Yep.
That was fantastic.
We ought to figure out how to use it in
Attaboy!
our group.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think we just have Ken just be our market and research for all of us.
So there's the question.
No, I don't want to do market research. There are too many marketers in this team.
Yeah.
In this organization. Use the folks who know what they're doing about marketing.
That may be an industry that has one of the greatest impacts immediately, market research and focus groups and other types of things that you can accomplish with market research and ways to reach constituents and customers and everybody else. So that may be a big opportunity.
So just coming up for upcoming presenters, Jennifer Fry is presenting next week. The 31st is actually not open. I think the slides have been updated even since this morning. NTP Technologies will be presenting on the 31st. So if anyone's interested, we'll be moving into June and scheduling presenters then. Keep in mind the 7th is in person at Mason Enterprise Center in Fairfax, as well as virtual, so you can continue to join us virtually. And you can scan the QR code to apply, or you can go to 1millioncups.com/Fairfax. Again, if you're interested in speaking on a topic, although now you have to follow Ken, who did a great job today, but we'd love to have you, contribute if there's something you would like to share with the group. But in general, we're looking for business owners, entrepreneurs. It can be someone who has an idea, who's a year in, 3 years in. If you're facing a challenge and you want a little bit of a mastermind, we can help you with that. Next slide. And so, yeah, I think, Melinda, there's an updated version of those slides. So if you and I stop sharing for a minute,
Sure.
I'll just
No problem.
I'll share my screen just so we can see the latest event. I do not want to get in trouble with Tess for not sharing about a couple of things. One is there's a career expo next week, National Diversity Career Expo at the Hispanic Chamber. June 8th, there's a Business Women's Giving Circle summer social event. You can check that out at bwgc.nova.org. Fairfax County EDA is doing an entrepreneurship 101 July 11th. If you're thinking of starting a business in Fairfax, it is critical to attend their sessions. They share so much information that's huge. Now back to Tess and our organizers. She is doing a lot of the messaging and marketing for the Asian Festival on Maine. That is this Sunday. Please go check it out from 12 to 6. And of course, we also have our veteran pop-up shops with Donnell as well. As I mentioned before, if you're interested in being an organizer, please reach out, let us know. We are looking to grow the team. It's very easy, 30 minutes on Monday, and then show up here and help business owners. Do follow us on social media. Again, as I said, you can scan our QR code and engage that way. And lastly, just thank you. Thank you for the group being here today and engaging and asking great questions. Again, thanks to Ken for being a great contributor to our community. But it's been wonderful having everybody. We look forward to seeing you next week virtually. And again, thanks. If you're interested in applying or learning more about 1 Million Cups, just go to 1millioncups.com/Fairfax.